الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على أفضلهم وخاتم النبيين محمد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you here at Kaisa Darus Salam in Damansara, in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia. Our topic is a very interesting one on Russia, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Syria, and the Malhama in Akhir Zaman. So you need politics, you need some knowledge of international affairs, and you need eschatology, which is Akhir Zaman, Islamic eschatology. You need to be able to apply the Quran and the Hadith to the events which are unfolding in the world. That is not always an easy task. So let us begin. I hope you will excuse me, those of you who have heard me already. Just be patient because there are others who have not heard it. On methodology. Because there are those who will rush to say, we differ with Imran Hosein when I explain the Quran. So before you rush to reject what I say about the Quran, just take a little time, please, to understand methodology. It could save you a lot. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught methodology at the beginning of the Quran, when He ordered the Malaika, the angels, to make sajda to Adam alayhi salam. And I always wondered, why did He do that? Was it because of something which was there in Adam alayhi salam, that you had to make sajda to him? Or was it the other way around? Was it the other way around? You were going to test to see who are those who are arrogant and those who are not. But that's not our subject today. فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا Iblis. And they all made sajda except Iblis. If we use what I refer to as a schoolboy methodology, then we take the statement by itself in isolation. And since the order was given to the angels, and he refused, so he must have been an angel. He must have been an angel. Iblis must have been an angel, said the schoolboy. The schoolboy. Why? Because the schoolboy says the order was given to the angels, and they all obeyed except Iblis. So Iblis, according to the schoolboy, Iblis had to be an angel. Allah constructed the sentence this way to teach a lesson. Yes. When you announced that Iblis was an angel, then you start looking at other parts of the Quran. And then your face becomes pink, and then it becomes red with embarrassment. Why? Because Allah says about the angels, وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ, that angels don't have a choice. When an angel is given an order, the angel must obey. Must obey. وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ, says Allah in the Quran. And since he disobeyed, he could not have been an angel. See, schoolboy is now scratching his head. Oh, I should not have gone so fast. I've used the wrong methodology, says the schoolboy. And then in Surah Al-Kahf, Allah says, وَكَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ. Iblis was a jinn. So the proper methodology is, don't take any verse of the Quran in isolation and announce the meaning. Don't take any hadith in isolation and declare, I have understood the subject. No. You have to go to the totality of the data, first in the Quran. And when you have done that, then you are able to understand better what Allah is saying in the Quran, having begun with this lesson in methodology. Now, does the Quran speak about Russia? Is there any reference in the Quran to Russia? Well, Russia is Orthodox Christian. All of Russia is Orthodox Christian. So now the question is there any reference in the Quran to Orthodox Christianity? Orthodox Christianity is different from the Western Christianity. And you know how I describe the difference. You know? That one says you're not allowed to grow a beard. That one. They cut off the beard. But one man is allowed to keep his beard. And he's a big beard, white beard. And this fellow has hijacked Christmas. Now Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, he has no role in Christmas anymore. And this fellow with a big white beard, he comes once a year on a reindeer. Name is Santa Claus. That's Western Christianity. And they celebrate Christmas on December 25th because they follow the Gregorian calendar. But this side doesn't have Santa Claus. And when you go to Russia, you'll see the beards. And when you go to Belgrade, as I was in Belgrade 2 weeks ago, you see the beards. And this side follows the Julian calendar, so their Christmas is in January. That's one of the easiest ways to distinguish the two. So Russia is the Orthodox Christianity. Is there any reference in the Quran to Orthodox Christians? You'll be surprised. And now we come to the serious part of the lecture, so you've got to put on your thinking caps now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a very, very, very important statement in the Quran. In Surah Al-Ma'idah. And I'm conscious that I'm not speaking only to this audience here, but I'm speaking to a lot of critics of mine on the internet around the world. So would they also listen carefully? It is in Surah Al-Ma'idah, and he says, بَعَدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ لَتَجِدَنَّ, which is fi'l mudariya, which means present and future. Present and future. You will most certainly find, emphasis, you will most certainly find, now and in the future, what will you find? Now and in the future. أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا اليهود. That the Jews would be the most hostile of all people to those who have faith in this Quran. But then that did happen in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Oh yes, the Jews were the most hostile. وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. And in addition to the Jews, there were another people who were also the most hostile of all to the Muslims. And those were the people who were in shirk, the kuffar of Mecca. They had hostility and enmity and hatred easing out of their heads. They were so hostile. So this came to pass at that time. The Quran goes on to say that at the same time, when this is taking place, the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility, these two people, at the same time you'll find something else. Now and in the future. What? وَلَتَجِدَنَّ. And you will most certainly find now and in the future أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. That you will most certainly find now and in the future that those who will be closest in love and affection for you Muslims will be a people who say, we are Christians. Now, nothing happens in the Quran by accident. Allah did not say, He did not say that you will most certainly find those who will be closest in love and affection to you will be Christians. He didn't say that. What did He say? He said, you will most certainly find those who will be closest in love and affection for you would be a people who say, we are Christians. Notice the language. Be careful. Nothing happens in this Quran by accident. The manner in which this statement is made is very important. ذلك بأن منهم القسيسين والرهبان وأنهم لا يستكبرون. And the reason why you will find these people to be closest in love and affection for you at the time when they have the greatest hatred and hostility for you is because they have priests amongst them. Authentic priesthood. The institution of the priesthood has been preserved amongst them. And they have monasticism, the monastery and the monks. And the institution of monasticism has been Rahbaniyya, has been preserved amongst them. وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. And they are not an arrogant people. They are not an arrogant people. Arrogance? Oh yes, we have a story by which we can know what is arrogance. Because he said, I am not going to bow and make sajda. No, sir. So Allah asked him, why not? When I ordered you to make sajda, why did you not make sajda, Iblis? And his reply was, I was created superior. My birthright is superiority. I am superior to him. I am white, he is black, so I'm superior. I'm rich, he's poor, so I'm superior. I'm tall, he's short, so I'm superior. I am Malay, he's Indian, so I'm superior. Shall I continue? Or should I stop now? That's arrogance. Anyone who believes that he is superior to another by virtue of birthright is arrogant. And when you are arrogant, out of Jannah. Get out. There is no place for arrogance in Jannah. So we know a thing or two about arrogance. And they are not an arrogant people. So now the question arises, who are these Christians? Who are these Christians? Schoolboy. The schoolboy says Allah is referring to all Christians. So Even George Bush and company in Washington, and Obama, and Holland, and all these fellows in Germany and France, they have all become closest in love and affection for you Muslims, says the schoolboy. Because you know the schoolboy is not following proper methodology. Proper methodology. If he was following proper methodology, he would see, no, that Christianity out there, the institution of the priesthood is falling apart. Many priests are in jail, and many others are not in jail because the Pope will not reveal the information. They make a deal. The institution of priesthood is losing its respect. People losing respect for the priests in the Western world. No. So many priests are pedophiles. And monasticism is no longer there, it's gone in the Western Christian world. The monastery is now, yes, McDonald's hamburgers and Pizza Hut. That's what the monastery, and a bingo hall. But on this side, the Orthodox Christian world, the institution of the priesthood has survived. The priest still has a status of high esteem and respect in the society. The priest still plays a significant role in the affairs of the society. And monasticism is still alive. The monasteries are held in great respect and very great love in that part of the world. Monasticism is still there. The schoolboy should have asked himself, can Allah be referring to these Christians as a people who are not arrogant? Western Christianity, which says of itself that we are a people who have been created by Allah, superior to the rest of the world. And we had to send our armies all over the world, including Malaya, and colonize the rest of the world in order to civilize them. Yeah? We had to civilize mankind. This is our mission in the world. This is arrogance. And we expect all of mankind to copy our way of life and become carbon copies of ourselves. So when we shave off the beard, then the sensible and intelligent and cultured and civilized thing for a Malay to do is shave off his beard, and a Pakistani to do is to shave off his beard, and an Arab to do is to shave off his beard. Yeah? And when our women take off the head covering, the civilized thing to do is to take off your head covering. So it's banned in France. That's arrogance. Oh yes, that's arrogance. So Allah could not be speaking about the Western Christian and tell that to the schoolboy. But something more. This side of the world, the Orthodox Christian world, they never had an agenda of ruling the world. No. Never. They don't have their military bases all over the world, 600-700 military bases all over the world. They don't control every single naval port in the world. No. They don't have an agenda of ruling, establishing their political dominion and military dominion over all of mankind. No! The Orthodox Christians don't have that arrogance. But these do have it. But that's not all. When Allah said, you will most certainly find those who are closest in love and affection for you to be a people who say, we are Christians. What does it mean? Answer, These are a people who would proudly identify themselves as Christians. Proudly identify themselves as Christians. We are Christians. Their primary loyalty is to Christianity. That is the implication. Qalu inna Nasara. Who are those Christians today? Not Western Christianity, where you have been secularized. So your religion is now your private affair. As for when you go home and for Sunday morning in the church, the rest of the time, the state is in control. So we are Americans. We are French. We are Germans. Not we are Christians. So this is the way Allah is helping the schoolboy to recognize, to eliminate this part of the Christian world. That these are not the ones that Allah is speaking about. Then who are those who he's speaking about? This side of the Christian world looks very much to be the people Allah is referring to. Are you going to contradict the Quran because of blood-stained history for 600-700 years? Is that your methodology? That history can contradict the Quran? I think they got homework to do in Bosnia. They got homework to do in Albania, and in Kosovo, and in Macedonia, and in Montenegro, and in Serbia. You got homework to do. You cannot use history to contradict the Quran. The Quran is the word of Allah. It is the Quran which has to be used to interpret history. So now you can understand why the Ottoman Empire waged ceaseless wars of aggression and oppression, unjust wars on the Orthodox Christians for 500-600 years, to create a legacy of hatred and bitterness for Islam. If Imran Hosein was an Orthodox Christian living in that part of the world, I would hate Islam. I would consider Islam to be the religion of the oppressor. I would despise Islam. That's how I would feel. Why can't they understand? But the minute you go to the Orthodox Christians and you tell them the Ottoman Empire was an oppressor, and that was not Islam. The Ottoman Empire was created by Dajjal, empowered by Gog and Magog, and used 500-600 years of bogus jihad to try to sabotage what Allah had ordained in the Quran. That these are the people who will be closest in love and affection for you. That is what happened at that time. Because when our people were being persecuted and being killed, the Prophet ﷺ told them, go to Abyssinia. There's a just king. Allah will put it in his heart to protect you. And the first hijrah was to Orthodox Christianity. And when Makkah sent their people to try to get the slaves repatriated, no, the king said, no, I will never do that. I'll never give them up. And so we see love and affection at that time amongst the Orthodox Christians. Today, after 1400 years, once again, the Jews have become what they were at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. This did not happen for 1,000 years. For more than 1,000 years, the Jews lived amongst us Muslims in peace and in mutual respect. Oh yes. It is only after the Zionist movement was established in 1897, only then, that we now see the Jews re-emerging to be what they were at that time, a people who have the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for Islam. And of course, tell the schoolboy for me, Allah is not speaking about all Jews. No, there are Jews who stand up to the oppressor. But Israel today is the greatest oppressor state in the world. Worse even than the United States. That's terrible. And at the same time that Israel and the Jews have become the greatest oppressors, hatred and enmity for Islam at this time, so too another people who are built on shirk, they are also displaying the same hatred and enmity and hostility. Who are they? It is modern, those who control power in modern Western civilization. They're waging war on Islam and they call it war on terror. They're waging war on Islam and they call it war on terror. So at the same time that this is happening, the Quran is saying that you will find a Christian people who will now become closest in love and affection for you. This is your book speaking, the Quran. This is the proper, correct methodology which is being used to explain the Quran. If I am wrong, you must tell me what is right. You cannot simply say that Imran is wrong without saying what is right. I went to Moscow 2 years ago, after the Ottoman Empire had waged endless wars, unjust wars, jihad against Russia. And the Tatar in Crimea were slave raiders, enslaving the Russians and selling them as slaves for hundreds of years. And the Russians hated Islam for that. And had I been a Russian, I would also hate Islam for that. But lo and behold, when I went to Russia 2 years ago, and they knew my profile, that I denounced the Ottoman Empire for what they did. I denounced their taking the Hagia Sophia Cathedral and converting it into a masjid. I said it was disgraceful, it was shameful, it was manifestly sinful, and the news reached Russia. And so many other things I said, and they were pleased. And when I reached there, I found them to be a people showing respect for me, and more than that, showing affection for me, and showing respect for Islam. This is what I found in Russia. And 3 weeks ago, I went to the capital city of the Balkans, which is Belgrade, Serbia. And there was hatred for Islam to such an extent because the Ottoman Empire ruled over Belgrade for 400 years. 400 years. So when the Ottomans were removed, they destroyed every masjid that there was in Belgrade and left only one masjid standing. Up to now, there's only one masjid in Belgrade. All the rest are destroyed because of the hatred for Islam. But when they heard of my profile and what I said about the Ottoman Empire, what I said about Hagia Sophia, look at what happened when I arrived in Belgrade. About 3 weeks ago. I was invited by the Serbian Academy of Science and Arts, which is one of the very prestigious organizations in Belgrade. And they wanted me to speak on Islamic banking. But when they heard about my book on Islam and the future of the money, they changed the topic. They said, speak on this one. And I went there and there was a distinguished gathering. If I had known who these people were, I'd have got maybe some cold feet. But I didn't know who they were. Afterwards, I was told, this man is from the central bank. This one is a former foreign minister. This one is an ambassador and so on. And they received my lecture with not only friendship and esteem and respect, but they were learning from me. And then I was invited to the University of Belgrade. which is the most prestigious institution in Belgrade. You can't go to Belgrade University to lecture on religion. No, not in the secular society. And there was I, in a gown and a hat, lecturing on Islamic eschatology, and nobody came. No policeman came to remove me. When I arrived in the auditorium of the university, I found people standing in the hallway because there was no space, in fact. The auditorium was packed, no space. And when I entered the auditorium for the first time in my life, it happened. Never happened before. The whole auditorium erupted in prolonged and loud applause, welcoming me. How did it happen? The first time they're seeing me. They did that because they knew about me from the internet. And they liked what they heard. This was a man denouncing Ottoman oppression. This was music in the air. They were longing to hear this. And I spoke to them for an hour or more. When you go home, please go to YouTube and listen to the lecture. All right? There are powerful voices, powerful people in Belgrade who don't want me to succeed. Oh yeah? They want Serbia to be part of NATO. And so you will see in the middle of the lecture, you will see a clip where the camera focuses on the audience, and all the audience are talking to each other and showing each other their handphone and talking. Nobody's paying attention. And the impression is created when nobody's interested in the lecture. No. That clip was before I arrived. Before I arrived. And they took that and they put it into the middle of the lecture to give the bad impression, you see. I remained in Belgrade for 10 days, and not one instance of hatred for Islam. None. None. So you can see from both Russia and the Balkans, you can see that Orthodox Christianity is changing its view and turning towards more positive relationship with Islam. Russia is a part of that Orthodox Christian world. Not only is Russia a part of that Orthodox Christian world, but Russia is the leader. So is Russia in the Quran? The answer indirectly, yes. Russia is the leader of the Orthodox Christian world, which the Quran is saying will become closest in love and affection for you Muslims at that time when the Jews are showing the greatest hatred, which is now. Is that all there is in the Quran? No, there's more. That part of the Christian world is known in the Quran as Rome. And there's a whole surah of the Quran called Surah Rum. And the word Rum occurs in the Quran once, at the beginning. Ghulifatir Rum. Rome has been defeated. Orthodox Christianity, which was the Byzantine Orthodox Christian Empire. But Allah says, وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ, that they will be successful shortly after this defeat. And on that day when they are successful, وَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, you Muslims are going to celebrate. When Rome is successful, you Muslims are going to celebrate. So the Quran establishes a positive relationship between Muslims and Rome. Are you going to turn to 600 years of bloody history in the Balkans to contradict the Quran? Be careful. These words are not meant for Damansara, they're meant for Bosnia and Albania and Kosovo and Macedonia and Montenegro. You cannot take 600-700 years of bloody history to try to contradict the Quran. Your primary loyalty is to the Quran. Your primary guidance comes from the Quran. So use the Quran to seek to understand history. Don't try to contradict the Quran. So the Quran has established a positive relationship between Muslims and Orthodox Christians. Is that all the days in the Quran? No, there's more. There's more. The Jews responded and said, when the pagan Arabs sent a delegation to ask him, how can we tell whether this man, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is indeed a prophet, as he said he's a prophet? They said, ask him these three questions, which only a prophet can answer. And my book, Surah Al-Kahf, about an age at the back, deals with those three questions. One of the questions was, ask him about the great traveler who traveled to the two ends of the world. But when Allah answered the question, He first repeated the question and then He answered it. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ. And they questioned thee, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, about Dhul Qarnayn, a great traveler who traveled to the two ends of the world.
The car plate number WEX8982 belongs to any one of you, and DBX2148. Please move your car to the other side. WEX8982 and DBX2148. No?
Okay. The great traveler who traveled to the two ends of the world is Dhul Qarnayn. Dhul Qarnayn means the one who possesses two qarns. That's not his name. His name is not Dhul Qarnayn. This is his nickname. What is his name? We don't know. His nickname. You had a prime minister here named Badawi. Yeah. And I saw in the newspaper Pala. Nickname. Big nickname. So, nickname. What is his name? We don't know. But he's one who possesses two qarns. Qarn can mean horn, and qarn can mean age. But every time Allah uses the word qarn in the Quran, He always uses it to mean age, and He's never used it to mean horn. So clearly, we are good foundation when we say Dhul Qarnayn will be someone who impacts on two ages. Two ages. And then Allah describes the first journey to the setting of the sun and the second journey to the rising of the sun. But He doesn't stop there. No. The Jews wanted to know whether He knew about the third journey. That's the question. And Allah answered, the third journey took Him to Gog and Magog, which is a big sign of Akhir Zaman. Only a prophet would know about Gog and Magog. So the first age, when Dhul Qarnayn traveled to the setting of the sun, refers to a period of time before Gog and Magog were released into the world. And the second age refers to a time after Gog and Magog are released into the world. Two ages. Someone, we don't know his name, we do not know his name. Someone who is endowed by Allah with power. That much we know. And secondly, his power rests on the foundations of faith. Schoolboy was said the only one who has faith is a Muslim. So those who came before Islam don't have faith. No, schoolboy, keep quiet. The story of Zulkarnain is from that time before Gog and Magog are released into the world. Okay? How are you going to use your power? He travels to the setting of the sun. And then he comes upon a body of water which is the Quran described as Aynun Hamiyah, dark and murky. Aynun Hamiyah, dark and murky. If you're in a ship and you look down, you probably have visibility for only 1 meter. But if you're in the Mediterranean and in a ship and you look down, you could see probably a few meters. So the water in this body of water is dark and murky. All the commentators of the Quran are all in agreement that the Quran is referring to the Black Sea. That's why it's called Black Sea. The Black Sea. And Crimea is in the Black Sea. And Russia now controls Crimea. If you control Crimea, you control power in the Black Sea. Okay? So at this place, he comes across the people, the Black Sea. And Allah asks him, how are you going to deal with them? When power rests on the foundations of faith, how will power be used? And his response was, those who commit acts of dhulm, those who are unjust, wicked, who are oppressors, I'm going to punish them. So power will be used to punish the oppressor, punish the wicked. And those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct, I'll treat them nicely and reward them. But when they go to you, you will punish them as well. So at that time, when Gog and Magog had not been released, power was used by Zulkarnain in that region of the world in this way, to punish the oppressor. The Quran is telling us that when Gog and Magog are released, and when they spread out, وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ, and they spread out in all directions, and with their invincible power they take control of the world in the world order of Gog and Magog. At that time, in this region of the world in which the Black Sea is located, the world is going to witness something marvelous. And that is that power in this region of the world will once again be endowed by Allah to be a power that is irresistible. Yeah. Allah will give the power. And that power will rest on foundations of faith. And that power will be used to punish the oppressor. I had dinner in Belgrade at the home of a very distinguished person, and he invited an ambassador. I won't mention ambassador to which country. The ambassador heard that Imran Hosein does not visit any member state of NATO. So she made the mistake of asking me, why do you not visit NATO member states? So I gave her an answer. Maybe she might listen to this lecture and confirm that I'm speaking the truth. I gave her an answer to which perhaps she was not accustomed in the diplomatic community. You don't speak this bluntly. But my answer pleased my Serbian host very much. I said to Her Excellency, I do not visit member states of NATO out of respect for the blood and the tears of my people. That's my answer to her. The blood and the tears of my people. For NATO is the world's biggest oppressor today. So in that region of the world, power is going to emerge once again on the foundations of faith. And that power is going to be used once again. Remember, it is Zul Qarnayn, 2 ages. That one already gone. When will the second one come? Has it come already? The second one. If it has, schoolboy, tell me when it will come. Ask the schoolboy for me to answer me. I am saying this is the second one now. If I am wrong, then schoolboy, tell me when did it come? Because I'm not aware. A power coming in that region of the world, irresistible power. That's Zulkarnain's power. But yes, I see it now. After the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, which was a Jewish revolution, to break the back of Christian Russia, and then communism and the godless atheist Soviet Union. Atheism, yeah, an atheist state. In Russia, an atheist state. You could imagine an atheist state in the United States and Britain and France and so on, because they don't go to church anymore. Their churches are now being sold. Bingo halls. But not Russia. Russia's heart is spiritual. And in Russia you bring an atheist state, the Soviet Union. Could this have been by accident? No. If this was by accident, a cow can also jump over the moon. This is not by accident. They did this to break the back of Orthodox Christianity. That's why they did it. And they planned, and Allah planned His plans. And Allah is the best of plans. That after 70, 80 years of communism in the Soviet Union and the oppression of the Orthodox Christians and Muslims, today Russia is returning to Orthodox Christianity. In the Western world, the new mantra is that a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate. And anyone who differs with that is suffering from a disease called homophobia. Yeah, that's it. And on this side of the world, Russia said they banned it for 100 years. Illegal. Homosexuality is illegal in Russia and in the Orthodox Christian world. That is evidence. Russia is returning to her Christian faith. And that Russia is also a very powerful state. It is a nuclear state. It is capable of waging war. And we did all of this to tell you that from our perspective using the Quran, we are now on the verge of momentous events in history when power is going to be used one more time in the region of the Black Sea, in which Crimea is located, to teach the oppressor a lesson that he will never forget, to punish the oppressor, and to reward those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct. They want to wage war on Russia. And Russia is saying, we're not afraid of you. No, we're not afraid of you. And Russia has warned, don't mess with nuclear Russia, says Putin. Don't mess with nuclear Russia. If you want war, you get war. Russia has just intervened in Syria. We don't have the time to go to the Arab Spring. We don't have time to go to Libya. So we've got to cut out that to come to Syria. For 1 year, NATO has been waging war, aerial war, on ISIS, the Islamic State. The Islamic State, which receives its weapons and receives its money from the CIA and from Turkey, which is a NATO member state, and is therefore waging what would be called a CIA jihad, but I prefer to give it a more colorful name. I call it a Yankee jihad. This Islamic State. And they are dropping bombs on them for 1 year now. 1 year now, NATO, the biggest, largest, most powerful military force in the whole world, is waging war on ISIS for 1 year now. And for 1 year, ISIS is becoming stronger and stronger. So NATO, who are you fooling? Huh? Do you think us to be donkeys? So Putin waited for 1 year. And then he did two things. He got an official request from the Syrian government for assistance. The government of Syria is calling on us for assistance. And he went to the Russian parliament, and the Russian parliament gave him authority to respond and accept and to intervene. They didn't do that. Britain didn't do that. France didn't do that. And so Russia entered through the front door. They entered through the back door. And the Russian Air Force has been waging strikes for 3 weeks now. And in 3 weeks, Russia has already achieved more than NATO could have achieved in 1 year. So who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? They cannot allow Russia to destroy ISIS. No. Number one, because ISIS is their baby. They created ISIS. And they have plans for ISIS. They want to send Saudi Arabia into the garbage bin, and they want ISIS to take over from Saudi Arabia. So ISIS must park itself in Mecca and Medina with a new Khilafat, you know, the Yankee Khilafat. And ISIS must control the Hajj and so on. And all the donkeys in the world of Islam will accept that. All the donkeys in the world of Islam will accept that. That is Islam. Let me repeat it, so you won't be in any doubt about me. All the donkeys in the world of Islam, that's what I said, the donkeys in the world of Islam will accept that. But not those who have eyes and can see, and who have ears and can hear, who have some understanding. We're not fools. It's a Yankee jihad. They cannot allow Russia to destroy ISIS. That's their baby. Secondly, it will be too great an embarrassment for them. The Russia who they're trying to isolate and make Russia look like the devil, Russia is able to come on the stage of the world and achieve a spectacular victory in the full daylight of history and make NATO look like a bunch of fools. They can't allow that to happen. So then what will they have to do? Answer? They'll have to respond, whether they like it or whether they don't. They'll have to up the ante. They'll have to escalate the conflict. They'll have to find some excuse to intervene militarily to respond to the Russian intervention. And when they up the ante, Russia will come back and up the ante again. Because Russia is saying, we're not afraid of you. So where is this going to lead to? Answer? The Prophet ﷺ spoke about the Malhama. And he identified where the Malhama will take place. In that region of the world between Damascus and Turkey. That's where it's going to take place. And that's where the parties are already in place. I don't think Russia wants nuclear war. I don't think the American armed forces want nuclear war. No. America much prefers to wage war in Libya, because you can wage war in Libya and go home and have dinner. But not Russia. Nuclear war means that they will use every single nuclear weapon that they have. It will be all-out war to the finish. And nuclear weapons don't destroy so many buildings as they destroy people. So there's going to be a war in which most of those who are fighting will be killed. You think the American armed forces want such a war? How many will be killed in this war that's coming? Has our Prophet spoken about it? Yes, he has. Tell the schoolboy for me. The Prophet has spoken about a war in which 99 out of every 100 will be killed. It's there in Sahih Bukhari. And if you go to YouTube and look at my lectures on Islam, the petrodollar and Russia's tryst with destiny, you'll see my analysis of that hadith. 99 out of every 100 will be killed? Can't be conventional warfare. No. Conventional warfare don't kill so many people. But nuclear weapons do. Nuclear weapon kills people. Yeah. So it looks very much as though it has to be a nuclear war in order for 99 out of every 100 to be killed. If you say to me that there are no nuclear weapons in the world, by all means you can keep on offering your viewpoint and try to get mankind to accept your viewpoint. But don't try to silence me. That's not fair. I don't stop you from giving your viewpoint. Why should you stop me ramming your views down my throat? No. No, that's not the way. If you say there are no nuclear weapons, there will be no nuclear war. By all means, certainly, do please offer your viewpoint and give the proof to support your viewpoint. Do it in a respectable way and let the people decide. Don't try to stop me and stampede me and silence me. That is not the right way. So yes, I'm saying that it is now inevitable that nuclear war is coming. We cannot avoid it. Not because Russia wants nuclear war. Not because NATO wants nuclear war. No, none of them want nuclear war. But because somebody else wants nuclear war. Who is the somebody else? Somebody else is someone who wants to succeed the United States as the next ruling state in the world. The Judeo-Christian Zionist Alliance knows it. They want Israel to replace the United States as the next ruling state in the world. So that in the same way that Pax Americana replaced Pax Britannica, you have read Jerusalem in the Quran, haven't you? If you don't know English, we have it in Bahasa outside now. Okay? In the same way that Pax Americana replaced Pax Britannica, so too Pax Judaica will replace Pax Americana. The US dollar is now in irreversible decline. The United States as a world power is now in irreversible decline. And Putin knows that. And Israel is preparing to replace the United States. But Israel is small, and the world is big. How can Israel rule the world? Yes, we can understand the United States. But how can Israel rule the world? Answer, either Israel has to become much bigger, or the world has to become much smaller. Which will it be? That's why they want nuclear war. That's why they want nuclear war. So that the world will become much smaller. My opinion, I can be wrong, my opinion is that you can't live in North America after nuclear war. It won't be habitable. Or Europe, no. Those will be wasteland. My opinion is that what is left of the world after the nuclear war would be a world that is small enough for Israel to manage. And therefore, we see a passage now from Russia to NATO, to Syria, to the Malhama, to Akhir Zaman. And you know what happens after Israel takes over from the United States? The Dajjal's day like a week will begin. And when the week is ended, then the Dajjal will appear in human form. You also know that after the Malhama there's going to be another very important event. What is that? The conquest of Istanbul, huh? Oh, not Istanbul. The conquest of Constantinople will take place after the Malhama. Tell that to the people of Turkey for me, because they've been so brainwashed by 500-600 years of Ottoman garbage that they believe that Sultan Muhammad Fatih is the one who conquered Constantinople and fulfilled the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Wrong, wrong, wrong. The conquest of Constantinople will take place after the Malhama. When that conquest of Constantinople takes place, the Bosphorus will be free of NATO, and the Russian Navy will then be able to pass through the Bosphorus into the Mediterranean, and that is a part and parcel of the effort which is going to liberate the Holy Land. When Nabi Isa alayhi salam comes, and Imam al-Mahdi comes, and the truth will triumph over all rivals, and justice will triumph over injustice and oppression. And with that, I thank you for your kind attention. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.